We have a secret connection to Huggy Wuggy, and after going face to face in chapter 1 and him appearing in our hallucination in chapter 3, I'm gonna tell you what that connection is. Our experiences with this monster go way beyond what anyone has thought, and the evidence was right there to begin with. So hey everybody, I'm Jeeps, and this is the secret connection we have with Huggy Wuggy. So first of all, what even is this connection, and what am I referring to? Well, we know that 3 chapters of Poppy Playtime are out, and throughout each chapter there's been some sort of relation to Huggy Wuggy. In chapter 2, we see many Huggy Wuggies and a trail of blue fur, and he's even the first experiment we go face to face with in chapter 1, but I believe this goes way deeper than simple first impressions. You see, in chapter 3 of Poppy Playtime, we come across Catnap multiple times, and we know Catnap has the ability to manipulate some kind of red gas known as poppy gas, which we find out has the ability to give you vivid nightmares from the opening cinematic of chapter 3. We inhale this poppy gas for the first time, and whoop-de-doo, we start hallucinating. The whole start to become endless, and then we see a hospital room of some kind, with a TV and a tape on the bed. It shows Huggy Wuggy, then he changes into some kind of terrifying monster chasing us out of the TV. Now, it's not the nightmare that I'm focusing on here, but rather the fact that Huggy Wuggy was the experiment who showed up. Could have been an experiment, and out of all the ones we've seen, Mommy seemed to put us through the most. So why was Huggy the one who appeared? And why did the end of the hallucination lead to a hospital room? Well, I believe that we have deep memories which reside within us from when we worked at the Playtime facility. Sounds a little odd, and trust me it is, but hear me out. Throughout the game, we hear from multiple experiments like Mommy Longlegs, Miss Delight, and even Poppy that we are an ex-employee who worked at Playtime Co. in the past. So how does this connect to Huggy? Well, in one of my past videos covering who the protagonist of Poppy Playtime is, we looked through the orientation handbook created by Mob Entertainment, giving us a bunch of secret in-depth info from somebody named PW, who also worked at the Playtime Co. factory. And PW was a biologist who was also involved with the experimentation of these creatures. I believe that both of these characters are the same, and if they both are the same, then Huggy Wuggy could be one of these creatures, and it would explain the emotional trauma that we'd have connecting to Huggy Wuggy, as there could have been some sort of incident sometime in the past, especially considering the Hour of Joy. Don't forget, it's been 10 years since we've been at the Playtime Co. factory, so for our character it would be like returning to old memories, and perhaps some unwanted nostalgia. Now don't get me wrong, we learn about PW from the orientation handbook, and you can learn about Huggy Wuggy as well, but all we receive is a detailed report of what he is and who he is, and an event where he tried to escape, so there's really not too much to find. And while PW and our character being the same person could explain some form of past experience with Huggy Wuggy, it doesn't quite explain why we have such an emotional attachment. There's most likely details that we don't know that explain this ordeal a lot easier, but as of right now, we can't entirely be certain that that's the reason. So yes, I believe Huggy Wuggy and the protagonist go far beyond first impressions, but overall, us having a traumatic first impression, especially with an experiment like Huggy Wuggy in chapter 1, being chased and nearly killed, now that would be enough to leave some kind of unkind remark, so that option isn't completely off the table yet. However, aside from that, I want to dive a little deeper into what we actually see in the games, some information from Mob's YouTube channel, and that hospital room that we see at the end of the hallway during the hallucination. Like I said before, once we inhale the poppy gas, we begin hallucinating, hearing radios that tell us we missed the Hour of Joy, claw marks on the walls, but one key detail intrigues me the most. You see, as we begin hallucinating, you can hear a radio start spewing off details related to Elliot Ludwig and the corpse of a child found on his estate.
Authorities report that the body of a young boy has been found on the estate of the late Elliot Ludwig.
And later, we also see a huge empty room with the letters "Guilt Haunts You" written above a desk. These words continuously follow us throughout Home Sweet Home, so how do these connect? Well, you see, this room where we see the words "Guilt Haunts You" is most likely referencing our time working at Playtime Co. And you could tell from the size of the room that we weren't any ordinary employee, as most employees shared rooms, as seen from Project Playtime's maps. So we were clearly involved with working on the experiments, and we're not particularly proud about it. That's why guilt haunts us. This is something I forgot to mention in my video covering who the protagonist is, but it really helps connect the dots here. Anyways, you can find a video on Mob's YouTube channel titled Restricted Disappearance, with Huggy Wuggy in the thumbnail. Essentially, Huggy Wuggy escaped the Playtime facility, killed 12 Playtime employees, and was seen outside of a house moments before he was captured. Now, originally I suspected that this was the home of the child who became Huggy Wuggy, but then I figured out that Playtime Co. was using orphans for their experiments from what we see in chapter 3, so it couldn't possibly be so. So considering that, I suspect that this house was Elliot Ludwig's estate. As we know from the radio in Home Sweet Home, during our hallucinations, we learn about a dead corpse found on Elliot's estate, which could possibly be the after remains of Huggy's experiment. What's even crazier than this is the fact that we might have been involved with Huggy Wuggy's experimentation. You see, remember that hospital room we see at the end of our hallucination? The one that is directly followed by Huggy Wuggy chasing us? Well, knowing children were being experimented on here, there's a high possibility this could have been one of our workstations. One place where we specifically worked with a child who was selected as the bigger body for Huggy. This can be inferred since most of these hallucinations could be past memories, and you can even see a misplaced Huggy cut out in the room. Something many people missed, but clearly shows that Mob Entertainment was trying to tell us something. We most likely knew Huggy before he became an experiment, and if HW and our protagonists are the same, then considering the calendar, we considered quitting the week before the hour of joy. So there's a possibility we took time out while the events were occurring, explaining why we survived. And this theory would also explain the guilt we possess, as we worked for Playtime Co., doing wrong and being aware it was the wrong thing to do. Eventually coming back to the facility later on to atone for our sins in some way. This would explain those messages scattered around the walls telling us guilt haunts you, and our involvement explaining why all the toys would recognize us. But in the end, it's just a theory, so let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you like this video, consider clicking on this one right here. Anyways, I'm Jeeps, and I'll see you in the next video.